Thank you for being here. This is really cool, and it's actually really, really, really important. It looks really fun, but it's really, really important. The reason why I started the Tulle project in the first place, some of you don't know, is because I felt like I was put into a box as a woman. I've been hearing, like, you can't do this because you're a woman, a bunch of places, and a lot of times I just felt really wrong for me and didn't like connect with who I was really. And then when I started the Tulle project, I decided to wear 2 skirts every day for 100 days and post on Instagram every day and share some of my stories, because I want to connect with the little girl in me that did everything that she wanted, and I want to wear whatever I want to wear, and I spoke my mind, and my mom didn't like that, but I know I felt so much more free than when I realized that I was an adult living for everybody else, not me. And a lot of the things that I heard from guys when I started the project and I explained that, they said, it's not that bad. You're making a big deal, and it's all about me being crazy and overreacting to everything, which is like the biggest problem. And then finally, #MeToo came along, and I'm like, okay, I'm not making this up. So on my YouTube channel, I interview women. Like, I want to portray women, day-to-day women, because I want to show the world that we're all different. We're not all one. We don't all have to have the same size and shape and height and personality. This is like the first time I get guys together, and you all like really different backgrounds and profession, and like I really, really appreciate you being here.
I'm Kevin. I'm an executive coach.
I'm James. I'm a realtor. I'm Rich, and I'm the founder of We All Live Here.
I'm Ryan. I own a restaurant.
I'm Aaron. I'm a graphic designer and illustrator.
I'm Eric. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Get Stuff Done, which offers consumer productivity software.
My name is Doug, and I'm a musician, artist, teacher's assistant currently.
Okay, so I have a ton of questions. So I'm very curious to know what's your taking on this. What is feminism?
For me, it's always been pretty simple, right? Loving and supporting women for who they are. It's nothing staunch or having to exclude one group to include another, or like be anti-men to be pro-women or anything like that. It's, loving and honoring the women in our lives, right? Like my mom, my grandma, those are, two most important people in my life, and I couldn't imagine doing anything specifically to their detriment. For the sake of them, or by virtue of them simply being women. I would only want to empower them. I would only want them to thrive.
Yeah.
Because that's what they've given me.
So I think his definition was great. It is the recognition of, it's a recognition of the value that an individual person has, agnostic of any other characteristics. Because to that end too, I mean, so you've had a very different experience in life than I have. All of us have had very different experiences, and without recognizing that, we mute the value of all of that, and we also intrinsically make the world a less vibrant place, a less valuable place, a less capable place. And meantime, we're also making it so people have fewer opportunities than others, which is also unjust.
Can I read the definition?
Yeah.
Feminism is the advocacy of women's rights and biases of the equality of the sex. So what feminism mainly means is that I'm not better or worse than you because I'm a woman. I'm not better or worse than man. So Emma Stone, she said that people should not call themselves feminism. They should call themselves by their names. The people that don't believe in feminism, they should be called sexist.
So to that point, my thought on this is that feminism is a word that should not need to exist.
Yes.
100%.
Because the reason feminism as a movement emerged is because there was oppression and suppression of women, the vote, presence, leadership, employment, pay, across the board. So if those things were not present, there would be no need to say we deserve equality if they were being treated equally in the first place.
It's an opportunity because half of the population has been held back. If you stop holding back half of the population, wow, what could happen?
Where could we be?
Like, you look at things, I mean, both in our society, like in, you know, all of the amazing things that America has to offer, you know, there's still a lot of issues here. But when you look at places where, you know, there's extreme global poverty, that affects women in an incredibly disproportionate way, right? So we have this income inequality here, but then it's like even worse in those places, and it's even worse how it affects women and children, and women and girls specifically.
Income inequality, right, is one huge one, right? So women make what, 70 cents on the dollar compared to men. If you go, you know, beyond that, if we look at how we discourage women from expressing themselves, because like what you shared at the outset, right? You wanted to wear the skirt and you know, speak your mind, and oftentimes that expression gets squelched, right? Especially in women expressing their sexuality and their sexual desires, right? How often do we slut shame women?
That's why the Me Too movement is actually necessary, is because you can't experience that. You have to, like, people need to speak out, and I will never know what that's actually like.
Yeah, well, which is like my question, like another question. What is, like, there's the Me Too, the Women's March, the Time's Up. What is that about? What do you feel about that? Are you annoyed? Do you think women are angry?
Like, nobody is unnecessarily angry.
Yeah.
Right?
Hands down.
So if there is anger, it's coming from somewhere, and it's coming from some behavior that took place, right? For anyone to say that anyone else is unnecessarily angry is to completely invalidate their experience. I didn't fully understand, like, I had to Google what Me Too meant, right? Like, I wasn't there to grasp the situation. And my Facebook feed was full of Me Too, Me Too, Me Too. And when I found out what it was, I as a man, I felt ashamed. I felt angry, and sad. Like it's no wonder women react to men the way that sometimes they do when the I don't know, harassment, attacks, violence.
A good friend of mine started working at a new company, and when she started, she got an IM from a male coworker, and over IM he'd ask her to drinks, and she politely declined. And the thing is that rather than him taking that as, okay, so she's not interested, I'll stop advancing, he actually took that as, okay, you're just playing hard to get, and he told her that. And then he continued to make advances towards her. She was actively afraid of being in a conference room alone with this guy because of that experience with him, where he just continued to, her saying no was not, to him it was not, an end of conversation where, like, I'm not interested in going on a date with you, I'm not interested in being anything more than colleagues. He took that as an invitation to move on. And the fact that she can't be in a conference room alone with that guy and be afraid. Is more than mind-blowing. So to go back to your question about the Me Too movement, and if women are angry, like, they're absolutely angry. They should be angry. They should be absolutely livid. I think anybody that isn't angry is just blind to blind to everything that goes on. I've never been in a circumstance where I've been in a conference room and been afraid for my own physical safety.
Someone asked me, is there anybody else there with you, with those guys on Sunday?
Oh, but today?
Today.
Okay.
She was concerned that, like, do you know all of these guys? Is there going to be anybody else there with you? I know, like, exactly. You didn't think about that. And I didn't think about that because I knew everybody but two, and I know really well the people that suggested you. So I trust them. I trust you as much as I trust them.
Well, that's funny because, like, I didn't know you before this.
Exactly. Yeah. you wanna-
But I never entered my mind to worry about my safety coming here
Yeah.
at all, you know, and really
That's
you
funny.
have created
you
this world.
came to
today.
a place that you never
Right.
came before. You didn't know the address, you know, until like a couple of days ago. And you came, you knew there were going to be a bunch of guys here. How do you know you're not going to get
Well, we
attacked?
were the first two here,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, I can imagine genders reversed.
Yeah.
Them showing up to my house, it would probably be extremely awkward. We were like maybe just confused where to go.
Yeah, I just can't imagine being
No.
in the other position as a woman to do the same thing. I it's beyond me that that's ever been the thought process of a man.
I know that it's a privilege that, you know, at night I can walk home by myself from the bus, you know, a few blocks and never really worry about my safety.
I think sadly, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I was kind of like, yeah, I could see that happening. I mean, sadly, you know, but my awareness became greater.
Yeah.
To you know, piggyback on what you're saying there, that yeah, when you're out with some friends and they say some stuff that you're like, you know, and then you're like, wait a minute, no, we probably shouldn't do that because that's part of the problem.
When you violate someone's being, violate their values, violate their space, violate their integrity, you're infringing on someone's way of being when you invoke their sexuality as their value. And so the Me Too, the Women's March, all the protesting, all of that is a reflection of the violence that has been done historically upon women internationally. So it's so much bigger than just saying I was sexually harassed. I've been violated over and over and over again. And it's not just my body, it's my mind, it's my home, it's the way I live, it's the way I dress. I can't express myself in any way that I want to without my sexuality being layered on top of it and that being an oppressive expression placed upon me.
Do you think you're privileged for being a man? How? And how do you?
Not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, so actually,
That's,
to that.
okay, go ahead.
So when the last place that I worked, one of the things I'm personally very proud of is I was a big part of helping to get International Women's Day being a very celebrated day at that particular company. And when I pitched the idea to someone, the response was something to the case of like, well, what about International Men's Day? Which, truth be told, there is actually International Men's Day, and what it stands for is very valid reasons. Like, it's a good celebration. But like, what is International Men's Day? It's like every day is International Men's Day.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? What is International Men's Day? I mean, and to your point, like, I'm white. Like, I actually won the genetic lottery. Like, I'm
Yes, you
privileged
did.
in every way that I don't even realize sometimes.
So
I get
But
served
say
at
same
counters
thing.
first. I will get better offers in the mail from credit card companies because of that. I will get lower cost of car insurance, like across the board, things that I will never even realize because they probably take sometimes a lot of research and digging to get into. But like, I get not to clearly we all feel pretty strongly about this, but like, to answer your questions, like, what ways aren't there? I think is even maybe just a better way to start.
My first job out of school, I mean, I'm from the South, so I mean, I grew up just kind of with that mindset being all around me, Texas and Tennessee, and then my first restaurant job out of school I was clearly hired for the way I looked. I advanced because of the way I looked. I knew that. I mean, I took advantage of it. Why wouldn't I? But I saw when you looked at the demographics of the people that were leaders in that company and the people who advanced, they looked like me. And yeah, I was good at my job, but I mean, there were other people that were very good as well that didn't get that opportunity. And you know, I remember when the first black guy got an assistant manager position, and it was called AGM, and it was like this whisper around the company, and I was like, it's so weird. Why are we even talking about this? Like, that should be. He's good, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember when the first woman was the general manager, and that was like, oh, it's because, you know, she's sleeping with so-and-so, or it's because this or because that. And I'm like, no, she's actually really good, you know?
Can we
like,
talk
she's
about
got to be
Yeah.
that much better than me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I've been extremely fortunate because of my position. I don't think that if if I was a female or a black female, that I maybe would be where I am. In fact, I'm pretty positive I wouldn't be. But because I am where I am, how do I take advantage of it now? I take advantage of it to be here on a Sunday, to volunteer my time and my money to make a change, to make a positive difference. And I think these guys can connect with that as
Yes,
well.
I mean,
We're all here because we take the privilege that we have now, and now that we're aware of it because of strong women like you, because Alyssa Milano, because of these women who have stood up and said something. And not to say that, like I said before, it's not that I'm not surprised, but it's putting it there in front of me to say, hey, we can do something.
That's where I am with that.
Yeah,
So
the education of these movements to have that paradigm shift,
It also
to
takes
view
courage.
what we can do to help.
yeah.
And in hindsight, it is a little bit selfish because you guys make us that much better. You know, like
That's just like
you
that's
know.
this mind-blowing component of it. In that, so you were talking earlier about your colleague who had been promoted to a general manager as a woman. Is if she got to that point, she had to overcome so much more that, like, why in the hell wouldn't you want her in that position?
Yeah.
She's probably overqualified compared to the other candidates from that standpoint. If companies that have more have a greater female presence in leadership and on their board empirically generate greater returns. If you're the chairman and the CEO of a company, why in the hell are you not trying? Like, how is that not your like main priority?
Ignorance.
I agree.
Ignorance, or maybe like ego,
Power.
right? Or they're just like
Ego is
fear.
ignorance, yeah.
In that maybe if I empower more women, then I'll personally get knocked down, which is
Actually,
also the
one of the-
stupidest thing.
Actually, one of the questions that the women that I ask them if you would stop yourself from hire a woman because you would be afraid that she would take over your job, or
Right.
I mean, that would be a reason to hire her.
Yeah.
If I hire someone that can't take over my job, why am I hiring them?
Right.
Your dialogue is about the journey of doing the work, so to speak.
Yeah.
That you've mentioned multiple times.
Yeah.
And that was eye-opening as a male to hear that quest, if you want to call it
Yeah.
that, of being a female. I had no idea.
I think a lot of like, just, I mean, on both, like societally in general, I think a lot of our problems are like due to a lack of self-reflection. You know, I think we project a lot of things. How I grew up, how that affected me, you know, like what are the challenges that I've faced, you know, and then are there patterns that I'm like repeating or perpetuating that, you know, I should try to make a better effort to curtail, or even sometimes, you know, it's not necessarily bad stuff, but it's stuff that I need to be aware of that's just kind of like reactionary, and I just need to like recognize it, so when that does happen, I can like, you know, either channel that into positive energy or move in a different direction if it's not helpful to the situation at hand. I think like society would be so much better served if like we could all take the time, like across, you know, all gender, ethnic, you know, income, age boundaries, and kind of do some of that inner work. And then that allows us to like really, if I can be at peace and accepting of myself, I have much more capacity to be at peace and accepting of everybody else.
You'll exude that.
Totally
I mean,
agree with
it'll
that.
show,
Yeah.
it'll rub off, and then it'll be effortless to.
It'll inspire.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing, like and that's how I've been like relating to women a lot. Like every woman that I interact to, I see myself in them. So every time I'm like jealous or have a bad thought about them, I know that's probably something bad that I have towards myself. That gives me a little bit more compassion and understanding of them. But this conversation has been amazing. You guys are awesome, incredible. Yes.
Can I just highlight? So that to me, that would be strength right there. Like that's a perfect definition of what strong is. Is like actually seeing in someone else, like the reflection of your own challenges. Like that takes a lot of guts. That's a lot more strong than I think like any other bullshit definition. Sorry, I know we're on camera. Any other bullshit definition that like society's a science of strength and being strong.
Thank you. This conversation has been amazing. You guys are awesome, incredible. Thank you so much for being here. Like, I really appreciate it. And my hopes is that, you know, other women will look at this and have like higher standard for what men think, and other men could like start questioning their influence and they're privileged in the world and their society and the small group around them. And hopefully like create a better and more positive dialogue. We hear so many like negative dialogues in the media, especially right now. And I just wanted to portray men in a better light, bring them to the conversation, and you all being so wonderful and so amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yours actually, that's a good outfit.
Sit on front of the TV eating a bowl of ice cream.
So,
Say more.